With me now to discuss further is CTV News political commentator Tom Mulcair. Hi there, Tom. Good to see
Good to
you.
be with you. Yeah.
What are you watching for from this committee hearing today?
Well, I'm not sure that the average traveler is that worried, to quote the person who was just on from the Airline Traffic Association, about an airline ecosystem. What Canadians want is efficiency in our airports. And we saw last summer that we had some of the worst airports in the world. And that's not a matter of opinion, that's measured internationally. And of the 10 airports with the biggest problems around the world, 3 of them were in Canada. So I think that there's been a bit of a watch on for Minister Alghabra since that time. And again, it's interesting to hear them say, well, there's this process in place and you can make an application to get reimbursed, but there's a backlog of at least 30,000 cases. They're not getting through that list. And I'm sorry to say, but it seems rather obvious that snowstorms are part and parcel of the average month of December in Canada. And people, as you correctly said, Marcia, might have waited on the plane for 12 hours, but they were often in the airport for 48 to 72 hours. And then we had people stuck for 7-8 days at sunny destinations down south because Sunwing, to name that one airline, couldn't get its act together. So I think that there's a lot of pressure because our system of government is based on something called ministerial responsibility. And it's the minister, in this case, Mr. Alghabra, who's responsible for the whole Ministry of Transport and everything that happens. He found time during the holidays to make a film about the route that would be followed by Santa Claus. Now, that's good PR, and it's probably something his communications folks said would be a good idea. I'm not convinced it showed a lot of judgment. If that was your priority, to take your time to do that, and everything else was falling apart, I think that's where Mr. Alghabra, I think, might be in for a spot of trouble. If there is going to be a cabinet shuffle in short order, and there are rumors of that, I think his name is going to be high on the list, unfortunately for him.
Well, to add to that, Tom, as you point out, there were problems last summer. And a lot of people assumed heading into the travel season that those problems would have been sorted. We knew it was going to be busy because people were anxious to see relatives that they hadn't during COVID and get back to some sort of sense of normal, go on a family vacation. So what line of questioning do you expect will be directed at the transport minister? And at this point, what can he say? What would be his defense?
Well, people from the industry will be doing what we just heard before, trying to say, well, let's redo this, let's come up with a new way of looking at things. But that's going to be cold comfort for the average Canadian. I think that the opposition parties, if they're wise, will not go white hot right away. Because if it becomes a rather personal attack against the minister and it's too strong, it's easy for him to duck. And the average Canadian will say, well, I don't understand why they're screaming at the minister. But if they do something more surgical, more clear-cut, saying, look, here's the situation. Here are the international evaluations. Toronto Pearson, Montreal Trudeau, and Vancouver, 3 of the 10 worst airports in the world. And there are hundreds of airports in major cities around the world. So that's not a record anybody wants to be proud of. And then what happened? How is it possible that companies like Sunwing didn't have anything in place? And this is an unbelievable situation. And it's simply never happened before on this scale. And again, it's not a big surprise, Marcia, that we get snowstorms in Canada in December. It's not the end of the world. It's not an act of God. It's a snowstorm.
And we haven't even talked about Via, and we have to add Via in there because a lot of passengers were stranded on trains as well. So my last question then for you, Tom, because unfortunately I'm running out of time. What do you think? You mentioned the opposition. Do you think that we will see a united front between the NDP and the Conservatives on this? How do you think they're going to approach this? Again, at a time, Canadians want accountability, and they also want some compensation.
Well, it's important for Mr. Singh and his team to show that they're on the side of travelers and consumers on this issue. This is not a vote of confidence. This is not part of Mr. Singh's deal with Trudeau. So he doesn't have to hold back. And these are themes that would be very strong for the NDP as one of the key opposition parties. And I think that they'll go really, really headlong at this thing. With regard to the Bloc Québécois, they've become increasingly irrelevant. Nobody's really paying too much attention to them anymore because of the resurgence of the Parti Québécois in Quebec. The Conservatives are the key players here. And they've got to show not only that they know how to criticize, they've got to show that they're a government in waiting. And so I'm going to be listening a great deal to the tone they use with Alghabra this afternoon and as they describe things. If they're screaming, if it's too hot, I think that they're going to lose a lot of possible support. If they go at this professionally and clinically, I think that they might score a lot of points politically.
CTV News political commentator Tom Mulcair. Tom, great to see you today. Thanks so
Good
much.
to be with you, Marcy.